What's up, everybody? How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep. Carbon, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I guess we're going to be the only ones today.
Well, after John.
So watch the movie with us. They don't want to show up.
Huh?
I was watching the movie. They say it's going to join, man. They lied to us.
Enunciate, man. You got to enunciate. I can barely make out what you're saying.
All of them said they were going to join. They lied to us.
They probably have things to do. Without further ado, you guys just want to go ahead and get started?
And that's what we're here for.
All right. Before we truly get started, do you guys want to make this a spoiler review or a non-spoiler review?
I think we should do non-spoiler. Even have two
Non-spoiler.
sections in it.
I'm trying to keep it short. Like, try to keep the review like around 30 minutes.
I'll set a timer then, because we'll go on forever if you don't set a timer.
All right, let's move to the since there's only three of us, I guess I'll move to the Jumbotron. There we go. There we go. All right, on to the Jumbotron. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's turn on our Jumbotron music here. All right, let's begin. Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan and a few other people. Where do you guys want to begin? You want to give like our basic overview first, or what?
That movie was terrible.
The movie was not terrible. The movie was actually really quite good.
I went to 2 hours of my life, and I want it back.
Well, you're not getting that back, bro. That's not happening.
I demand retribution.
I'll say that I was actually pleasantly surprised because, with vampires movie, they've been done so much, so often that it's kind of hard to be original with it. And even though I don't think this was like the most original take, I think, I think the concept was actually pretty cool and it was executed really, really well. For those who have not seen the movie yet, the basic premise is that there are some people who are so gifted musically that they're when they play or when they sing or whatever musical talent they have, they can open up basically they can rip the veil, kind of like the veil of reality, and the past and future kind of combine. And apparently there's demonic or vampiric like creatures that can come into our dimension, and they're sort of attracted to the music. And that's pretty much what happens in the without giving you away too much, that's pretty much what happens in the movie. And that's kind of like the basic lore behind the vampires. In this particular movie, it's a vampire, I think from Ireland.
Yes.
And they don't really tell you how the vampire got to the United States, but we know that some Native American people are trying to track him down to kill him. And one of the things that they sort of mentioned in the movie is that that a lot of it is based in folk music from different parts of the world, and each culture had like a different name for like these demons or whatever that could come from.
It wasn't the demons. It was the singers. Because then I forgot the name of the one in Ireland, but the one from the African history is the griots. It wasn't, they didn't name the vampires.
Yeah, because they showed the Irish, they show the Native American, they show the African, and they hint in some other scenes they hint at other cultures like the Chinese culture or Asian culture in general. But overall, man, like the movie was well executed, good pacing, really good acting. Michael B. Jordan acting his ass off. Michael B. Jordan did a good job, but he did such a good job that you really did believe that the twins were two different people. You know, because they had like they had subtle differences in their attitudes and their behaviors.
Okay.
I wouldn't even say it was subtle.
I'll say subtle because from what I can remember, even though this wasn't acting, this was more like prosthetics. I think one twin had like gold teeth, but the other one didn't, right?
No, they had it on different sides. One had it on the left, one had it on the right.
Right, yeah.
I can say I only had one issue with the whole movie, and it's not even a major issue. I just didn't understand it until I had to think about it all day. When you first see the vampire, he's running during the daytime. What?
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Burning up, though. He was burning up. Remember?
He was burning up.
That's why he had to go inside the house because he's gonna die.
He was burning up. Yeah, and he looked beat up.
That one scene. The one scene.
One of us gonna talk. Shit.
Well, the one scene where he runs to the cabin while he's running when he's in the daylight, when you first introduced him. What I thought was really cool was you saw those three big black birds were like flying around the cabin, and then it lands on the cabin. And there's a lot of like, the more I thought about the movie, there's a lot of foreshadowing that you see. Because I watched it again last night. I'm not gonna lie. And there's a lot of foreshadowing that they do in the movie, and they usually it pays off really well near the end.
Well, I have no complaints. I really, despite my earlier sentiment, I have no complaints. I liked it from beginning to end. It was well shot. The only real complaint I have is the movie theater we were in.
Yeah, we went to, I guess, which is Azalea's or now Regal's version of IMAX called RPX, and it was horrible. The screen wasn't good. Like pretty much the bootleg version I watched last night looked better. And I will, when this movie comes out, I will purchase it. But I wanted to see it again for this review. And we did go to the movies. We spent our $22 for the ticket, but it wasn't worth it because the screen for some reason the screen was too dark. Like the brightness contrast on the screen wasn't very clear. Like it had, like I was upset because I remember when the movie began, it was a lot of day scenes, and it already looked dark. I was like, man, when this gets to the night scenes, it's not going to look that good. It's going to be hard to see things, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it still wasn't good. So clearly, there's something going on with the theater with that. So I can't really judge, the visuals too much because I don't think we had a good experience with the theater that we were in, even though we spent $22 freaking for the ticket.
Some of us did.
Some of us don't lie about being senior citizens.
That's ageism, and I will not accept it.
I'm sorry, old head.
I'm sorry, YN. But yeah, other than that, it was shot for shot was very good. You could tell when they wanted to use the IMAX, and then they did the super panoramic, and they all flowed well together. Versus some movies that want to shoot it in one frame, one type of camera, and did y'all know we missed the end credit scene?
Yeah, there was I didn't know there was gonna be an end credits. We missed that. So what was it about? Can we see it online, or did they talk about it online somewhere?
I haven't seen it online. I only heard about it online. But basically, it has the character that played Sammy. It had him playing his guitar, and he's singing "This Little Light of Mine." And then when he finished the song, he looks up into the sky. So,
now which one was Sammy? I can't remember.
The guitar player. That's why I said the guy who played Sammy playing the guitar.
Yeah. The guitar player is the guy that got scratched on his face.
Yes.
So it's the same character. It's the main character, yeah. So the main character basically, he's in it again at the end of the
yes
credits. Why didn't you just say that?
Yeah.
It's the same guy. Is he older? Is he older though?
No, it's when he was young. So I don't know exactly what it was foreshadowing, but I'm gonna go see it again tomorrow. I'll spend my $8 going to see it tomorrow.
Will the theaters be open tomorrow?
Why wouldn't they be?
It's Easter.
And
I wasn't sure if the theaters open on Easter or not.
But other than that, like what the acting from beginning to end, it was good. I can't say I don't have any. Everybody was believable in their role, and the guy who played Sammy, for that to be his very first movie,
yeah, he did a good job. Because I remember one of my criticisms of the trailer was he didn't sound very soulful, but no, he's dude's got soul. He's got soul, man. He killed it. I think he's an actual singer in real life. I read that he learned to play the guitar for this role. And I have to say one thing about this movie is the score. The music is really good. I mean, its roots, the roots for the music in the movie is the blues, so it makes sense. And that's one thing I think they did a really good job, because the music itself was telling a narrative. One of my favorite scenes, I don't think this is really giving anything away, but one of my favorite scenes is the piano player and the harmonica. What was the guy's name?
Delroy's character.
I don't know. I know
Slim.
Yeah,
Slim.
The older guy.
Mm-hmm.
There was one scene where they're in a car and they're driving to the juke, to the juke joint, and they see a chain gang. So he tells them to slow the car down, and he kind of like tries to uplift their spirits. And so Sammy, the guitar player, he asked him like, "Hey, you know some of them?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know all of them." And he tells this story of, basically how those guys got in prison. A lot of them basically were in prison and they hadn't done anything. So it was just another form of slavery. Some white and I say so type of stuff, right? And there was a thing that he did after he told the story. He was like, like he felt upset that there's nothing he could do to help his friends. And through that pain, he starts bobbing his head. And from bobbing his head, he starts, humming a song, and then they start, playing along. That's how blues. That's why it's called the blues. That's how blues started. That's why it's blues feels so soulful, because it comes from a very deep place, from a lot of pain. That's the blues, a lot of suffering. I thought that scene perfectly captured, what the blues is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the one scene I really was the vampires. So when he was singing and had all the other vampires circling him.
Yeah, he was singing the Irish folk music. Yeah.
And the reason if you really overthink it, there's not really any antagonist into this movie until the very end. And we all know the scene I clapped at. The vampire was just like, hey, he, from what I was reading about the script and the background of it, the vampire was like, hey, you come with me, there'd be no hatred. We'll all be a good big family. Versus Boss Hogg, and we all know who Boss Hogg is at the end of the movie. He's a classic Southern racist. I'm not saying that he should have been it's a vampire. He is a predator, but basically he's saying like, hey, there's a better way of living out here. You just come with me.
What was interesting? What was interesting about, because I think the actor who plays his name is Jack O'Connell. I think he actually is Irish. And I read that he would do those types of dances. What's it called? What's that type of dance called?
Irish folk dance. Irish folk
dancing. He did that when he was younger. So he knew how to do it, but he had to get some practice in, I guess, for it. And even the song, I think, is an Irish folk song. But one of the things I thought was interesting, though, was when you listen to him talk, he talks about how he's from a different time and place.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to hit on. He was from a time and place where they didn't see race. All they saw was people.
I don't know about all that, but I think what he was alluding to was that he was summoned there through a similar means that Sammy was doing. And the reason why I say that is because when he gives money to people, it's always like pure gold. You know what I'm saying? Which kind of harkens back to the whole leprechaun myth.
I
I
was
wonder if
thinking about
this
that
has something to do with it. I thought that was interesting. But there's a pretty good article about him. We can kind of read a little bit of it if you guys want to. Pull it up real quick. And where is it?
But I get the name. I get Michael B. Jordan's characters confused all the time. I don't know which one was the Reckless brother and who was the
Yeah, they should have kept the hats on, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
I think the one with the red hat was the more reckless one.
No, I'm saying their names. I don't know. Can't Smoke and Stack.
Oh, Smoke and Stack. Yeah. Can you guys see this right here?
Yes.
All right, I'll read a little bit of it. It says, Jack O'Connell is venturing into unknown territory with Ryan Coogler in Sinners. The actor who is set to appear on the big screen in Coogler's supernatural period horror flick caught up with the Hollywood Reporter to discuss working with the Black Panther director and getting some new experiences under his belt. Coogler's film focuses on twin brothers Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, who returned to their hometown of Mississippi in 1930s to open a blues club for the Black working people of the Deep South. On opening night, the pair find alongside co-stars Haley Steinfeld, Miles Caton, Wunmi Mosaku, Jamie Lawson, Omar Miller, Lee Jun Lee, and Delroy Lindo. A greater evil looms over the evening. O'Connell stars as the ancient threat Remick, intent on alluring others into a dark fate. It's one of those scripts where it definitely requires more than one read, but I only had enough time to read it once, so I was really just effing winging it, man. O'Connell admits to the THR. The star who first rose to fame on gritty British teen comedy drama Skins says meeting with Coogler was enough to sign him up for life. The guy is special and amazing to work with from start to finish, says O'Connell. Right across the board, crew cast, what he cultivates is something phenomenal. I'm very fortunate to be able to say that firsthand. It says below, it gets into the discussion. So Jack O'Connell, what do you think? I loved it. So impressed. I'm trying to get to the point where he talks about what he had to do. Because I know he said he met Ryan Coogler, and here we go. It says, I met Ryan. He reached out to me, and it was all quite quick. So I got sent a script. I had to read it on a secure platform, and then later on was set to speak to Ryan about it. But it's one of those scripts where it definitely requires more than one read. But I only had enough time to read it once, so I was really just effing winging it. When I'd seen the traditional Irish music in there, that was the main thing I wanted to pick his brains about, to be honest, because I couldn't believe that I'd read it. I couldn't believe that I wanted to. I couldn't believe that. I wanted to know what type of Irish music he was going to go for. Was it going to be the traditional sound like Dubliners, how they would sound? And yeah, I love Luke Kelly, this traditional Irish music legend. So I thought you know what? Hats off to Coogler. My kids love Luke Kelly. My kids request Luke Kelly in the house. And he basically goes on to talk about how that Ryan Coogler understood the influence that Irish folk music had in the South at that time. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because there's a scene where Ryan Coogler sort of pays tribute to a lot of the music that sort of inspired, or that inspired African American, what becomes African American music. And believe it or not, Irish folk music is one of them. Now we have other things like African folk music and some of our own things that we sort of made up. But for the most part, man, it's a hodgepodge of different influences, like many other things. But I thought it was interesting when I was reading it.
It's
go ahead.
Like I said, the scene where he is doing the folk dance and all the because most of the vampires at that time were black, and the way that they were reacting to the music, like they always knew it. You could okay, they're incorporating it well, because usually in this day and age, you saw black people doing folk dance, you were like, okay, what's going on there? But when like especially when I can't. Michael B. Jordan's character is out there, and he's really like bending down and getting into the music, and they're all singing along with what the Remick is saying. I'm like, man, this is very, very good. It's showing that they're all unified, and I'm like, okay. But I wanted to go back to what the scene where you first get introduced to Remick. I had to really think about it. He had to be injured to be hurt, like permanently put off. So when he was running towards the cabin, he was all the other vampires couldn't transform like he did, if y'all noticed, because his when he was the only one that had the claws, while the other ones were just using their teeth, if y'all noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was just so strong that he could add a little bit more resilience to the sun. Because it was confusing me when I first saw him drop out of the sky. Like, why is he not burning up? It's daytime still.
Yeah, maybe because he's older too. He's an older vampire.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would love to see a behind the scenes with this. Like not behind the scenes, but like a director's cut to see exactly where he was going with everything.
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit too. Like, why were the Native American people chasing him, and how did he get to the United States?
Yep, and like, do we have any complaints about this movie? Really, besides $22 and a bad lighting? I
don't really have any complaints. There's some things that I'm probably still a little confused about, but for the most part, no, I don't have any. I think everything was executed well, man, from visual effects to the pacing of the movie to the directing to the score to the music. I can see why it got almost a perfect rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's cinema. It's real cinema. This is rare that we get something like this now these days. Everything's and that's the other thing, is an original take. It's not a sequel. It's not a remake or a rehash of something. It's an original idea.
And it uses all traditional tropes, and it's still executed well.
And it still has some originality to it, despite it using some traditional tropes. Yeah,
like all the things we knew growing up, like silver and garlic hurt vampires. Okay, we knew that, but the way they did it, like, hey, eat this, and eat this, or you're we got to kill you. Like, we got to figure out who's who in here. And I was watching Ryan Coogler earlier today, and he said he took, of course, From Dusk Till Dawn's a big influence, but I didn't pick up on the scene that when they're all eating the garlic. You know where that came from?
No.
The Thing.
Oh, okay. As far as testing people to see if they're yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Because when I was watching it last night, I was like, man, this seems really familiar. But it was so well done. I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I saw him say it, and I like Ryan Coogler because he's not afraid to ask others who have more experience in the genre or with the aspect to come and like give their insights. Because I listened to Spike Lee earlier, and he's like, man, young brother blew it out in the park. And Spike did, because we all know Spike Lee doesn't give credit to anybody unless they deserve it. So
one thing I'll say too that I really liked was the costume design look authentic for that time period, because I know a lot of times when you see period movies these days, it don't be looking right. And I like the depiction of the sharecropper life of Black people in the 30s. I thought they did a really good job depicting that, like when you see in the vast cotton fields and stuff like that. Yeah. I thought that was really good. Yeah.
And y'all know me. I'm the group asshole, and I'm gonna look for something I hate in something, and I can't think of anything. There's a lot of things I picked up on after thinking about it. In any movie that makes you leave the theater and you're still thinking about it is a success.
Yeah.
And we saw a movie 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks ago? like Woman in the Yard. You know, me and my best friend were talking about it earlier, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of like when you really think about it, there's a lot of things that carried on in my mind after we left the theater. Yeah. And this is, and I'm happy to say this is a movie that does that. It's not a mindless slosh. You just sit there and get entertained for 2 hours. It's something that carries on for you and here it is now, 24 hours later. And it's not just because we had the podcast, because I was actually like, man, I want to go to the movie theater right now, but you know, I need somebody to talk to after I leave the theater, right? And
there's one thing I remember we were talking about it last night on the way home. Is some of the rules weren't clearly defined for the vampires. So there are certain things that happen at the end, and it's like, okay, well, how exactly did that happen? Are the vampires, do they have a certain amount of free will, or are they tied to the main vampire?
They do.
Well, if they do have free will, then why did most of them stay around? What's his name? Rennick.
Okay, so I picked up on that too. What happened? So when the scene where Spoke and Stack are fighting at last, right? They're fighting, and I think Stack is the brother in blue, and he says, "Hey, you got to make me this promise not to harm Sammy." And they had a scene of Mary running off into the woods, and you know, then they have the post-credit scene. I'm sorry, y'all, if I'm spoiling this for you, but take your asses to the movie theater.
No spoilers, man. No spoilers.
No. All right. Basically, they do have free will because remember, Annie said, you know, the souls are trapped in there and they still have familiarity, but you know, you have to kill each one individually. So they weren't tied to them. They were just out there anticipating the meal. It's like the buffet, if you want to think about it. Everybody was lined up to eat.
I got you.
So if you have enough free will, like, hey, I'm gone. You know, I'm not going to get tied up into this. I'm out of here. And I like the one thing I do like in the post-credit scene, the family familiarity was still there, even though the brother was still a vampire. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, so, but yeah, it was so well done. And there's one thing I didn't understand why all the vampires got upset when Stack's wife or the estranged wife got killed, because I think it was Haley Steinfeld's character.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. When she died, they all seemed to be kind of upset. Like, don't do it. Yeah, I do remember that.
Like, I was sitting there like what's going on here exactly? Like, why are they supposed?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is maybe you know, they do feel some kind of kinship to their kind or whatever.
But she wasn't turned yet. She wasn't turned yet. She was dying, but she wasn't turned yet. Because you remember, she had her hands on the stake. It's like, you know, like, do it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's one of the mysteries that I like an answer to. Either that or they saw her as, okay, she's gonna become one of us, but not if you kill her. You know what I'm saying? But there was other ones that died though, so it's like, but they didn't have the same reaction.
Let's talk about the most emotional character in the whole movie. And I understand the pain of loss will make you do irrational things, but the Asian lady in the movie, I sat there like, hold on. Because
I got it. It made sense.
It made sense, but I just didn't understand.
She was ready to rumble, but yeah, she wasn't thinking rationally. Yeah.
Because I sat there like,
yeah, she just wasn't.
What are you doing, lady? Yeah. What are you doing? You had one job to sit here. But when you really think about it, the Remick and his crowd tricked them because they weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
They weren't going anywhere. They wanted Sammy. That's why they stuck around. Because when you really think about it, if they wanted to cause terror and like basically eat the town dry, they could have. They could have left and been on their way. But Sammy's voice kept them there because they wanted him. Now I wish they would have explained why they wanted him so badly.
Because
if they consumed him.
It's because the one guy said it. What's the Irish
Remick?
Remick. He said it. He was like they could use his voice to bring his other brethren. That's why I think there's something more to Remick than the other vampires. The other vampires are simply changed. I think he's like more of like a demonic entity or force.
Because like I said,
because they say he could use his. They could use if they turned him, they could use his voice to bring others like him to that time period.
Well, if you notice, he was the only vampire with glowing red eyes. All the other ones had silvery eyes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the way he died was weird. It was a little bit different from the other ones.
Basically, it looked like he was getting like sucked up into another plane. So I get because so fellas, can we give this the good old fashioned? How many bulbs do we give this?
Yeah, we'll give our final ratings and we'll call it a day. We'll start with you, Carbon.
I'll say I have to get a 5 out of 5 overall. The movie pretty good. Like I said, me personally for the indie, I would have split up so half people left, half people were still there, so they had like a little of a bigger battle, you know. Me personally, but overall, I felt like the themes were pretty good. Everything. I definitely like the main character, his progression, you know, like how he's supposed to be the preacher boy, and technically, you know, to a certain degree, his sins kind of caused the whole thing to a certain degree. If you look at it from that viewpoint, you know, because he technically just cheated with a married woman or whatever. So you could argue he's a sinner, you know, if you want to argue like that. You want to take it that way.
That's not what caused it, though.
That's not necessarily what caused, but you can look at it from that viewpoint.
I don't think you can. Because the idea is that we're all sinners. I think that's kind of the point.
It's the point where I think the theme of the movie is what you do with your life.
Yeah.
Because he had a choice of turning his back on his love of music or turning. It goes back to the blues, turning your pain into success. And if nobody picked up on it, on the name of the bar that they meet up at the end, it was named after that, named after his love in that movie. Well, the married woman. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's my turn to give my assessment. The movie was terrible. Nobody go see it. Save you $22. And with that, I give it the worst first time 10 out of 10 Lucent bulbs.
You can't give it 10 out of 10.
I gave it 10. I know the rating. I know the rating system, but I'm giving it 10 because anytime you can go home and you're telling everybody, and everybody I spoke to on the phone today, hey man, you got to go see this movie, man. You got to go see this movie. Go spend your $22 or lie to them, tell them they're a senior citizen. So, but other than that, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think so far it's the best movie of the year. I haven't seen it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to cut you off too long. I honestly think we have 2 good movies we've seen this year as a crew. And the other one's not getting as much fanfare, but the first movie was a deep look into psychological harm, and this one is just a deep root at many aspects. I honestly think the horror aspect was a great footnote to it, but it would have been a good movie even with a longer drawn out parts of the everyday human, the struggle of back in the 30s, because like I said, the whole entire movie was shot well. The whole entire movie was acted well. So, I'm sorry. You can go ahead, man. I can keep on moving on about this.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like The Woman in the Yard, but I don't think The Woman in the Yard was as good as this movie. so far, I mean, it's still relatively early in the year, but so far, I think this is the best movie of the year. It's the most. I remember near the end of the movie when we were watching the mid-credit scene, and I just remember just kind of like just looking at the screen, kind of rubbing my chin and really contemplating on what I had just witnessed. And I think this is probably one of the most artistic and thought-provoking horror movies I've seen that has vampires in it anyway, that I've seen in a long time. To be fair, I have yet to see Nosferatu, and I hear that's really good too, and I hear it's really well shot. But this is definitely probably one of the better vampire movies I've seen in a long time.
Well, I'm definitely against Nosferatu. I started it, I didn't finish it, but it follows the same story as the Nosferatu in 1910, so we know where that is coming from. For this movie to be a fresh IP, written and directed by the same person, and we all know how vampires die. We all know what hurts vampires, but their take on vampires it wasn't something that they
finish what I was saying because you keep interrupting.
Hell no. You listen to me.
All right.
All right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that this movie seems to be it's like it's going to have a lot of rewatch value because I already want to watch it again. I already watched a little bit again of it last night, bootleg. I'm sorry, but I wanted to see it again. I didn't have any other way to see it, and I will buy it when it comes out for streaming.
That's this last time I'm cutting you off. That's another thing. I'm like, man, I'm going to actually buy this movie for ready to availability, no matter where I'm at.
Yeah, but I want to see it again. I want to see some things that I missed. There was some dialogue that I couldn't quite make out sometimes because of certain accents. So I want to watch it with the subtitles on to kind of see what I missed. So for me, man, I'll have to give this a 6 out of 5, man. I think this is top-notch cinema here. I think this is and usually if I consider something the best movie of the year, even though the year isn't over yet, it usually gives the 6 out of 5 to me. I remember I gave it to the Spider-Verse movies. So this one is a 6 out of 5 for me, for sure.
And I must say this, and I am glad 2 years in a row that Black cinema is prevailing as the forerunner for Best Picture of the Year. Even though Spider-Verse is a Sony project, but it had a black main character. So take that.
I think it had a black co-director too, if I'm not mistaken. It has black actors. Haley Steinfeld's in that. Remember, she plays Gwen, Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Haley Steinfeld, she plays a passing black woman in the movie, which I kind of figured that's what they were going to do because I think in real life she actually is a third black or something like that. But that's what I like. I like how they show that 1930s life, how black people lived back then. And if you were a passing black person, you had your own dilemmas, you had your own psychological things that you were going through back then.
I just thought about one complaint. It's not really a complaint. It's just I wish this guy would broaden his horizons more, because I've seen him in too many roles where he's playing the lumbering oaf. The guy who played Cornbread.
I like Cornbread. Cornbread was cool, man.
I like him too, but I've seen so many roles with this where he plays like the lumbering oaf, or just the big guy.
He did not play the lumbering oaf in this. He was that one scene where he told one dude he was gonna knock the black off his ass or something like that. He was cracking me up, dude. I liked him. He was cool as hell.
I think his wife was the best part of that scene, though.
She was cool. Yeah, she did a good job.
Exactly how much money? I'm like, you got a good woman. I like, yeah.
Yo, Michael B. Jordan. I don't know. He deserves some kind of award. He did a really good job in this movie. I was very convinced by his performance in this movie, man. I was convinced by everyone, to tell you the truth. I think everyone did a really good job.
I think
no one was weak. No, there was no weak. I think, in my opinion, the weakest person was actually the Asian woman. And you know what? Here's what's interesting about the Asians in the movie.
I didn't expect them to be there.
Well, they were. I don't. You guys tell me. I don't know enough. I know a little bit about our history back then, but were there a lot of Asians in the South back then?
That's what I'm thinking. When I first saw them, I'm like,
let's look it up.
And for them to have 2 stores in Mississippi.
Well, that's what I thought was interesting, because they had the 2 stores, but one store was on one side of town where the black stores were, and the other store was on the other side of town where the white stores were. So they were like, they're making a profit off of our racism, or not our racism, but America's racism. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we can profit off of both sides. Let's see. Were there Asians in the Deep South during the 30s?
I know they're in San Francisco, and
yeah,
but it's like that. But I'm like, man, where? That's very odd. Go back up.
Right here it says there were relatively few Asians in the South. That's on Quora. Because they even had Southern accents.
Like they've been there for a while. But they were there because they were real familiar with Smoke and Stack.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I like the fact. Well, the man looked more Latino than Asian to me. I was looking at him like.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like the guy, her husband, he looked more Latino than black, than Asian to me. I'm like,
someone asked it on Ask Historians. Here we go. Let's read this real quick. It says, while this is a great question, it's one of the more commonly asked ones without any sort of great detail or source work due to the topic being A, very broad, and B, understudied by the larger academic community. But I'll give it a shot. Yes, both Mexican and Asian Americans faced the same kind of discrimination as African Americans during the Jim Crow period. Legislation barred them from intermarrying with whites, attending white schools. They faced social segregation as well as extra-legal violence such as lynching. But the status of Mexican and Asian Americans changed depending on the numbers as well as where they lived. The group that has become known as the Mississippi Chinese or Delta Chinese. Okay, so the movie took place in Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the group that has become known as the Mississippi Chinese or Delta Chinese, and it took place in the Delta, remember?
Mm-hmm.
We're a community of Asian Americans that lived in the heart of Jim Crow country in the Mississippi Delta. So yeah, okay, so there's some precedence for this. This was 9 years ago. Someone wrote this. Arriving during the Reconstruction era, they were subject to racial discrimination, but managed to find themselves as a niche position in the operating family grocery stores. So look, he did his research. They found themselves operating as middlemen, a third group in a biracial society. As opposed to the Mississippi Chinese, who were stuck in a radical in-between, neither white or black, some of the Chinese of South Carolina, few though they were able to successfully integrate into white middle-class society, attending white schools, marrying into white families, and even anglicizing their names from Singh to Sanger. The Citadel, South Carolina's military academy, wouldn't admit an African-American student until 1966, while ethnically Chinese cadets entered as early as the 1920s. Others would attend the Avery Institute or a Catholic school, local private schools for middle upper class African Americans. Of 10 Chinese families in Charleston between 1880 and 1920, 5 of the wives will be classified as white, 3 as mulatto, and 2 as Chinese, demonstrating that white Asian and black Asian marriages were stigmatized to a lesser extent than the somewhat more traditional interracial coupling of white and black. The Jim Crow Society was able to adopt adapt these outsiders by identifying the first generation Chinese as white, but their children's race depended on the mother, as Southern American society is matrilineal, a practice that extends back to slavery. So yeah, they were there, and it was especially so in the Mississippi Delta. So interesting. Let's look it up real quick. So it's what they called? They were called the Mississippi Chinese. Let's see if there's any images. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever witnessed in my life. I met like a stereotypically looking Asian person one time, and they had a deep Southern accent, and it threw me off. It really threw me off. But he grew up in the South. So
You remember when my best friend was here a couple years ago? We came by the house, and he lives out in Kenya, and he was telling us like, man, no, there are a lot of Chinese people in Kenya. And I'm like, really?
yeah, well, that makes sense. It makes sense.
But
They
your
do a lot of
accents
that.
aren't necessarily a race thing. It's the people you're around will actually decide, especially at a younger age.
We know that.
Just
We
like
know that.
accent.
We know that. But it just jarred me, because you don't expect it. I didn't expect it. I mean, I know why. I know it's not necessarily have anything to do with your genetics. It's how you are raised. Yeah. But yeah, here they are, the Mississippi Delta Chinese.
What are we looking at?
This is them, the Mississippi
Look at the screen.
Delta Chinese.
You're showing us
Look at
Reddit right now. What are you talking about?
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I
Showing
thought
us Reddit.
I pasted in the I pasted in the wrong one. My bad. Yeah, here they are. Legacy of the Mississippi Delta Chinese. So he did his research, man.
Hey, man, Ryan Coogler did his thing on this movie, man.
Yeah, he killed it. He killed it, man.
killed
He killed it.
He
Min Sang and Co. Remember they said they would change their name to like Sanger.
Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean they were making a killing, servicing both sides.
Could you blame him?
No, I don't blame him. Interesting.
We
Very
got a
interesting.
comment from somebody.
What's up, everybody? AR Movie Memes. How you doing? How you doing? Are you drawing Mr. T?
I'm just sketching, but it turned into a
All right. Anything else you guys want to say about the movie?
Nah, man, I'll give it, like I said, 10 out of 10, man.
Yeah,
Go see the movie. Go see the movie. Yeah, support this movie too, man, because most movies, they're sit at homes, if you get what my meaning. But this movie was actually worth going out to the theater for the $22.
I got another question though. Remember when when Sammy destroys his guitar at the end?
Uh-huh.
But then when you see him in the post-credit scene, he has the guitar again. I mean, did he just get it fixed, or did he just get the same guitar? Yeah.
Well, the one scene, when he hit Remick in the head, the silver from the guitar was lodged in his head.
It was lodged in his head. Yeah.
But he still had a bridge from the guitar when he left and went to Chicago. Now, yeah, you can get it repaired, but
And most of the thing was gone.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was dope. I think he just got it repaired. That's all it is. Because Stack asked him. Oh, I can't remember which brother is which. I have to watch it again. But
We could look it up. Who's who? Which one is Stack and which one is Smoke?
well, the brother asked asked him, hey, yeah, I heard, I've heard all that electronic stuff you got going on, but do you still got that reel? And
Yeah.
when he pulled the guitar out.
Let's see.
And you know where he got the name Smoke and Stack from, right?
Nah.
Howling Wolf, Smoke, Stack, Lightning.
I don't see anything that quickly tells us who was who.
Oh, that's another thing. Ryan Coogler did right. He brought in twin consultants for Michael B. Jordan to play both roles.
Oh, for
And
real?
yeah, and they were talking about like usually when one twin dies, the other twin dies shortly after because it has a symbiotic relationship with each other. I'm like, okay, that's interesting because when you think about it, one twin died early, like when he got turned, and by the end, by almost by the end of the movie, the other twin died. So
I think Smoke is the one that had the red hat, and Stack was the one that had the blue hat. Yeah, I think Smoke is the one that had the blue hat, and Stack is the one that had the red hat. Yeah. Okay.
all right, y'all. Next week, they got a new Superman trailer out. We need to cover that. Fantastic Four, they have a new trailer out.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot we have to discuss next week for sure.
But hey, y'all people don't get nothing this week till next week, so you better tune in.
Yeah, I thought he was doing more.
Thanks, Mr. AR, for subscribing, and see you guys are discussing Sinners. It was an excellent film. Yeah, man, it was awesome, man. We saw it last night, and we had a blast. We want to see it again. But definitely thank you for subscribing, man.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends about me. We need to make a meme for that. Bring Batman out. Yeah, he said Stack had the red hat. Yeah.
Like this, the song "Smokestack Lightning." That's where he got those names from. Howling Wolf.
I wonder who was the old blues player at the end.
Not Buddy Lee. I want to say Guy Lee. Because Ryan Coogler's uncle, who dedicated the movie to, he was a big blues fan, and Guy Lee was his favorite singer.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
Hey,
man, the way they wrapped that around was so good. It was so good, man. Because at first I was like, man, are they going to do the one thing where he finds Jesus, so he becomes a minister? So in the future they show him ministering to a. I'm glad they did do that. I'm glad he followed his passion. He followed his passion, man.
That's something else we can hit on. A lot of people like. I'm happy that he actually followed through and went to the end of his life with his passion, because a lot of people's like desires or their talent dies from life. You get my meaning?
Understandable.
Yeah, your life kind of getting in the way.
Yeah, and then he showed that he pursued his craft all the way to the end of his life. Man, hands off to a round of applause for Ryan Coogler, man. And I think he's caught lightning in a bottle, because his weakest movie so far is Black Panther 2, and was from Chadwick Boseman's passing.
I read something that he was tied to Space Jam. Did he do Space Jam?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I saw something like that.
No, because
the new Space Jam.
LeBron James? No. That movie was terrible. But no, he's done Fruitvale Station, Black Panther 2, Creed, and to Sinners.
So who directed the Space Jam movie?
Who cares? It was terrible.
Well, I didn't watch it, so yeah. No, it was this guy named Malcolm D. Lee. He must have had something to do with it, because I saw his name tied to it.
You know what? And I'm going to get off after this because I can keep this conversation going all night about this movie. The other thing, he takes his time between his movies. Most like the way Hollywood is now is you shoot.
He was a producer.
I'm sure we're not talking about anything else at all.
No, because we don't want to make it too long. We're gonna wait till next Friday to do the other stuff.
We can do this podcast, man. What the hell? No, we're not a podcast.
And you're not depressing me tonight. So, but no, basically, like, yeah, I think his lowest rating, like, Black Panther was like, that's his lowest. But I think if Chadwick Boseman lived, it would
He's directed like 9 movies. He did Sinners, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther, Creed, from Rocky to Creed, which I think is like a documentary or a TV movie, Fruitvale Station, The Sculptor, which was a short, The Fig, which was a short, and Locks, which was a short. But like full length feature movies began with Fruitvale Station, then Creed. I guess you could consider this documentary one. So yeah. So he doesn't have a whole lot in his discography.
Well, take your time. Sorry. Take your time. Get your shots right.
But he's been produced a lot though.
Hey man. Oh, the other thing is this movie belongs entirely to him. It's like Waterworld Brothers distributed it.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, they said it's kind of a little bit unprecedented on how he was able to make this. AR Movie Memo says that he did rewrites on the film. I'm assuming he meant when we were talking about the basketball flick. All right, guys, we'll wrap this up. Space Jam. I think he was talking about Space Jam.
Yeah. Well, AR, we'll be back next week, man. We'll be talking about things we're going to go see and not really pay attention to. But
there's a few things we're going to talk about next. There's a lot we have to discuss.
One
of the main things we got to discuss is the Silver Surfer in the new Fan 4 trailer. We really got.
I have not watched the trailer yet.
Yeah, that has to be talked about.
All right.
We'll get out of here. I'll see you guys next Friday, 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
All right. See you guys later. Thanks for commenting, AR, and thanks for subscribing.
Tell your friends. All right.